Saturday morning, time for the Experts Program. Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, on the line with us. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Mark. How are you today?
Doing well yourself?
Just surviving the fires. We have a couple of friends who had to evacuate their home. Fortunately, it hasn't burned down, but they were in that zone. So they're crashing with us. And, we have some other friends that are crashing with other families as they kind of wait and watch and, hope that nothing bad happens. So
right.
For anybody out there, hey, if you're being impacted by this, my thoughts and prayers, we stand with you.
I saw a post from the county that it looks like it might be a couple more weeks before some of the people that were evacuated will be able to get back into their homes.
Wow.
Going to be very tough. Well, On the tech side of things, Uber's former security chief is in trouble. He's in hot water. What happened?
Well, back in 2016, Uber had a data breach. Mm-hmm. And the thing about that particular data breach, not only did they expose the information of 57 million of their users to hackers, but they actually negotiated with the hackers to keep it all under the radar. They actually paid them $100,000 and had them sign a non-disclosure agreement. And Uber was trying to just essentially bury this incident and hope that it would go away. But unfortunately for them, eventually they had to disclose it about a year later in 2017, and they were fined, several $1 million by the federal government for not following procedure. But now the feds are going after them, and in particular going after the head of security, a gentleman named Joe Sullivan, for essentially breaking the law and paying a ransom. And I think they're trying to make an example of the situation because there are federal and state laws that dictate what you need to do in instances where end user information is compromised or disclosed. And they want to make sure that people understand that they're going to take this seriously. And if you don't follow the rules, they're coming after you.
Well, I'm sure glad I was never an Uber customer. But was this customer's credit card info that was released?
The hackers were able to penetrate Uber, and like they do in a lot of cases, they will get in there and just lay low, watching activity, watching data flow, and figuring out how to get to the real good stuff. So they weren't discovered for months after they had penetrated Uber's network. And by the time that they were caught, they had managed to remove the data of 57 million end users. And that includes names, addresses, anything that you entered as part of your Uber subscription, they were able to target, including credit card information and all ride history, where you lived, where you went, things like that.
Wow. Okay. Scary.
It is. It really goes to show that, more and more law enforcement agencies at the federal and state level are taking these kind of data breaches seriously. In California, we have the California Consumer Privacy Act, the CCPA, which was enacted last year and went into effect earlier this year, but enforcement hasn't taken place until last month. They started enforcing the CCPA in July, and there's already been numerous lawsuits alleging that people's information were disclosed without them being either agreeing to have that information disclosed for marketing purposes, or that organizations were hacked and the end users who were impacted weren't informed of it. Okay. So every state has very complicated set of laws that govern how these things work. And if you're a business that has 50 or more employees, then you need to be aware of these laws because they're going to impact you.
Is this why, like on a lot of websites, particularly when I go to some websites on my phone, I'm now getting I don't want to call it a splash page, but it's a page of disclaimers, and then I have to accept or deny at the bottom.
Exactly. In most cases, if you don't accept the information, they won't let you on the site. A lot of companies have decided that if you accept their terms, which means that they can use your information, they can put cookies on your phone and on your web browser, they can do all the things they normally do. If you decide, hey, I want to opt out from that, rather than creating a different experience for those users, they basically say, okay, well, then you can't come in.
Okay.
Because it's just too difficult to try to manage two different sets of rules on a website. So in a way, the CCPA was designed to make things better, and it has, but it also just created a lot of legal loopholes that companies can take in order to avoid having to deal with it.
Hey, while we've got a moment of time left here, speaking of Uber and Lyft, it looks like a California judge has temporarily stayed a state order, a portion of AB 5 that would have caused those companies to pack up and leave California and not offer their services here. What do you know about this?
Yeah, so AB 5 basically was designed to force gig economy companies like Uber and Lyft to treat treat their workers as employees rather than as contractors. And in particular, the law was, some people will say that it was really targeted at Uber and Lyft because it was so specific. And a state judge ruled recently that the law as written really does require Uber and Lyft to treat their workers as employees, which means paying them salaries, overtime, giving them paying for benefits if they will, whatever benefits they have, paying taxes, all that sort of stuff. So rather than deal with that, Uber and Lyft said, we're out, we're taking off. We're going to cease services in the state because it's just unworkable. So that was supposed to go into effect yesterday. And Lyft actually announced that they were going to stop operating at midnight last night. And Uber did later, but then the judge stayed his decision until Monday at midnight to give them time to argue otherwise. So we'll see what happens. It could still be that, come Tuesday morning, there's no more Ubers and Lyfts working in California, but hopefully not. We've all gotten dependent on those kind of services.
Very true. One last thing before we go here. We touched on it at the beginning. We were talking about people having to evacuate their homes. Cybersecurity, you've been told to leave your home, all right? So you grab your laptop and you take it with you. But what if you've got the traditional tower desktop computers? Anything that people should be worried about, when they have to evacuate their homes and as far as cybersecurity for their devices?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can take your computer, if it's portable enough, take it with you, even if you don't take the monitor and anything else, because even if that house burns down, chances are that the hard drives on those systems will survive just fine. They're designed to withstand a lot of abuse. So looters can come in after the fact and steal that hard drive and extract whatever information was on there. So if you can take it with you, even if it's not workable, but at least it's going to be safe.
And if you don't have room to take the tower and you know how to remove a hard drive, you could always go into the tower, take the hard drive out, and take that with you, because that's really the keys to the kingdom.
That's the keys to the kingdom. And if you use an external USB drive to back up your data, like a lot of people do, or maybe to store information, make sure you take that as well.
Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, joining us today on Power Talk Radio. Online, alvareztg.com, @AlvarezTG. That's the Twitter handle. And Luis, the toll-free number for the I-Team.
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.